Toyota's lineup here in the United States is enormous, from body-on-frame SUVs and trucks to economy cars like the Corolla, the RAV4, the Camry. I mean, we got the three-row crossovers. I could keep going. I mean, the sports cars too, right? And as a result, you would think Toyota really doesn't have any gaping holes in their lineup. And I agree with that. Toyota does not have any gaping holes in their lineups because I didn't even mention the Crown cars, all right, and Lexus, right? So they have, and upcoming Century cars. So they're going to have just about every single niche and main market car covered. However, there's been a huge clamoring and demand and a want from not only Toyota enthusiasts, but pickup truck enthusiasts for a unibody, efficient, flexible, and in theory, affordable pickup truck that was hopefully as small as something like the Ford Maverick or old Tacomas or old Toyota pickup trucks back in the day. I do have a lot of news to share with you guys on this topic, on this unibody pickup truck from Toyota. Now, Toyota's been very coy about it. They can't confirm that this truck is coming, and I think I have an idea why they haven't been able to confirm it, but they have been saying for years now that they're looking into it. They're studying. And I think most recently, Cooper Erickson from Toyota said, it's not a matter of if, but when. That's the Toyota pickup truck, unibody sort of vehicle we're looking at today. Now, if we look at the current market, there are a few unibody trucks. Now, I'm not talking about fully electrics, but we're looking at Ford Maverick. You look at the Hyundai Santa Cruz, and you also look at the Honda Ridgeline. But there's one other pickup truck that we don't get in the United States that Toyota may have been eyeing as a chief competitor, which makes like alarm bells start raising. Like, what the heck? Why are they considering this vehicle as a competitor? All right. And I'll be able to tell you why. Guys, if you guys are excited for a Toyota small pickup truck, hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed. Early next year, I will be driving some upcoming Toyotas. I can't say too much more than that. All right. So what do I know? I know a lot, but I also, the more I know, the more questions I have. And I think you guys are going to come out of this video the same. I have sources, and I'll, of course, keep them protected. And I'm not going to show any of the information that they shared with me directly. I'll just kind of translate the best I can. Toyota is considering using the Trekker name, not the Stout. The Trekker was like a joint sort of experiment with Winnebago that preceded actually the 4Runner. Does this mean that this vehicle is going to be a body on frame, another 4Runner sort of vehicle with a cover over the bed? No, but you could put a cover over the bed if you wanted to, all right, on this sort of pickup truck. So they're considering using the Trekker name, which might actually have more traction at this point in time than the Stout. Time will tell, though. Who knows what Toyota will actually name this thing. Now, keep in mind that the information I'm sharing you as well today was relevant maybe 2 to 3 years ago, but this project keeps evolving and they have to adjust with the market and the political demands on the market. I think that this vehicle, this truck, was originally designed to be a fully battery electric truck. Yeah, unibody battery electric, based off the things I'm seeing. Also, their target users or target buyers was empty nester Gen Zs that are wealthy. Now, wealthy is, general, but that's like, this was going to be a very expensive truck, which, is it possible that this truck that I'm sharing all this information with you today is different than a Stout, a more affordable unibody truck? Could Toyota have had 2 unibody trucks that they were designing, developing, and plan to bring into production? It's possible, but I have no information on any other truck other than this Trekker sort of truck that I'm sharing with you today. Okay, so they were targeting with this battery electric truck the wealthy class, empty nester Gen Zs. I mentioned the Ridgeline, the Maverick, and the Santa Cruz as being cross-shopped or at least potential competitors, or at least vehicles that Toyota would have on like the hit list of vehicles that they wanted to take down or be competitive with this Trekker truck. We're just going to call it the Trekker for the rest of this vehicle or the rest of this video. So here is a Geely radar. Geely owns Lynk & Co. It owns Volvo, Polestar, Lotus, for example. They have this brand over there called Radar, and this was the RD6 EV pickup truck. I don't know how much range translates from Chinese cycle to ours, but it'd probably be somewhere around 250 miles of range, anywhere from 200 to 400 horsepower, fully battery electric. All right. Just fascinating that this was on Toyota's cross competitor list. Now, what you see on the screen here is the Maverick versus a Tacoma. And I do actually have exact measurements of this Trekker. Just know that the wheelbase is in between these two vehicles. The height is actually lower than both of these. The length is longer than a Maverick, but shorter front to, like nose to tail than the Tacoma. The bed length is the exact same as the Maverick. However, the bed length is extendable because this Toyota Trekker was being designed with a midgate in mind. And that shouldn't come as a surprise entirely, because a midgate is seen on some trucks I've tested from Chevy and GMC, like the Silverado EV and the Sierra EV. Those have a midgate. And a midgate is much easier to design in a truck that's battery electric, because the floor acts as a it's a totally different structured vehicle when it's battery electric. All right, so if this vehicle comes as an EV, you could expect a midgate. There's also a spare tire, a detachable tailgate as well, from what I'm seeing. What's interesting here is that as well, the specs of this model, which internally you can, I mean, it could be completely scrapped at this point. We'll talk about that at the end. This vehicle's internal name was 730D. All right. And it has some parts similarity with the Grand Highlander, mainly on the front end of it, but it also has commonality in platform with an upcoming vehicle, which is the Highlander EV. The Highlander EV will be built in Kentucky. Now, this vehicle was supposed to be built in Indiana, where they build the Grand Highlander, the Sienna, the TX, for example. All right, but seemingly that has been scrapped to build this in Indiana. Now, what's interesting is that because it was slated to share the Grand Highlander's platform, they would have the same floor height. In theory, they would have a front, like the seat height would be the same as well. And the wheelbase, though, is slated to be longer in this truck, 3,200 millimeters, versus, we'll see what the wheelbase of the upcoming Highlander EV, but from what I'm seeing, it's 3,050 millimeters, okay, which is a 120-inch wheelbase. And then this Trekker was going to be about a 126-inch wheelbase, so really long wheelbase here, which is what you would expect in a truck. The Highlander EV with a 120-inch wheelbase is longer than what we see in the 112-inch wheelbase in something like the RAV4 EV, well, the BZ. I call it the RAV4 EV in my head. But yet the BZ, for example, has a 112-inch wheelbase like a Land Cruiser J250 or J300. It also, at least on this document, was saying that it was going to be BEV. And volume per month, they were planning to sell or make over 3,300 units of this truck per month out of Indiana. Also, they looked at the Maverick and would be copying the Maverick for how the bed would be assembled and attached and tightened. So I thought that was interesting, taking a page out of Ford's book there. I actually have an image of this truck, but it's just a concept design sketch, but I'll kind of explain what it looks like. So on the screen is the compact cruiser. This eventually became the Land Cruiser FJ, right? All right. And different, obviously the styling changed quite a bit. So at least in the placeholder image of this truck, it had very similar lights. The grille was just a hair different, but we had this hood scoop. We had a similar blue color. We even had the red hooks here. This very similar, very, almost like carbon copy to the front end of this, but on a much longer truck vehicle. Now, the A-pillar is not nearly as upright as it is in the Land Cruiser FJ or in this concept. The A-pillar is much more swept back like a Tacoma, for example. All right, I should look to see with the mirror because I had an image of the mirror, what the mirror looked like. The mirror is too conceptualized, so I can't, like, it just almost looks like a digital rearview mirror. Also, the door handles look to be flush with the vehicle. Like an EV, or it kind of looks like a mix between what you see on the screen and the EPU. And I'll put a picture of the EPU, what Toyota debuted at the Japan Mobility Show in 2023. So definitely a more EV focused front end. And that makes sense based off of everything I was hearing. We'll see what this truck looks like if it comes. And so let's talk about it if it comes. There is tons of research, tons of money, tons of people involved within Toyota to somehow bring this truck to reality. All right. And I think they were pretty far along and making this truck an EV. And I remember I broke this news. All right, but we're looking at automotive news because it's easy just to reference an internet article. But I broke this news first that Toyota would be moving their 3-row EVs that they're planning to build in Indiana and moving them to Kentucky. And I think a casualty of that is this Trekker truck that was going to be an EV. Remember, Toyota was planning to build 2 EVs in Indiana. One was going to be a Lexus, one was going to be a Toyota, but we didn't know like what they were going to be. Apparently, those have been moved over. Not apparently, but 100%. Those vehicles are being planned to be built in Kentucky. All right, what those vehicles are, well, Land Cruiser SE, an electric Land Cruiser 3-row, probably. The other one, I'm not quite sure. Maybe a Lexus badged version of that Land Cruiser SE. Look, Toyota has the J250 Land Cruiser Prado sold under the Toyota brand here in the United States as a hybrid only. And then we get the GX, which is the exact same thing, but different engine, transmission with Lexus styling. The same sort of thing would happen with this 3-row EV that was supposed to be built in Indiana. But since they had that platform there, they would have had the tooling and everything for BEVs. They would have been making that Trekker truck there in Indiana as well, at least from what it seems like, from what I have seen and heard. But EV demand went south, if there was ever true demand. They were just adjusting to true demand instead of hypothesizing like a lot of other brands were hypothesizing about EV demand and wasting billions of dollars like Ford, General Motors, and Honda. All right, so Toyota's saying, if EV demand is really where it's going to be based off of what we know it's going to be, let's just build all those EVs in one spot in Kentucky, and maybe even then we can turn them into hybrids or plug-in hybrids if we need to. I think that's what's going on. But this EV truck, it's not that simple. It's, to me, this Trekker, as it was planning to be a Bolt battery electric, is completely scrapped. I don't have confirmation on that, but that's just how I see it. Does that mean we won't have a Toyota Maverick Fighter, a unibody pickup truck? That's more affordable. This Trekker was not going to be affordable. They were targeting wealthy empty nesters, okay? And that would have failed, I think, as an EV. We need affordable small pickup truck. That's what the market's asking for. Look, the Slate, even though it's EV, I think it has this potential to be successful because it's going to have a low price. It's going to be no frills, like bare bones, and you can customize it if you want to. I hope Toyota is further along in the process of building a unibody truck. The Trekker, as a BEV, it's dead in the water. Now, you might be saying, Kirk, what about that Land Cruiser truck that Best Car was talking about? At the top, this is a Land Cruiser EV that is more than likely going to be built in Kentucky now, originally Indiana. What about the EPU? Well, this very similar design, but the front end was, for our market, for this truck, was mainly tailored for something a bit more rugged looking like the Land Cruiser FJ/compact cruiser. Or you can see from the side, the images of the Trekker that I had is fairly similar to this. There's a two-tone roof. You had this cut up here in body paint, but the front end looked, like I said, like that compact cruiser. I'm pretty confident that this is going to be made in the United States. All right. We know nothing's sacred anymore because Land Cruiser FJ is going to be built in Thailand. That Land Cruiser name, which has always been built in Japan, is now being built in other parts of the world. So I could see absolutely this Land Cruiser 3-row EV be built in Kentucky, which is crazy because you're already going to have a Highlander EV being built there. Hopefully they come in plug-in hybrids, which Best Car is saying that these would come as plug-in hybrids and hybrids as well. But this truck would have to be made in Kentucky or Indiana or somewhere else in the United States to avoid the chicken tax and other tariffs and other import fees. But this truck is not the Maverick sort of vehicle that we need. This is still would be a very expensive vehicle. Anything with a Land Cruiser name on it is not going to be cheap. I don't know what to think about this Land Cruiser truck, if and when it would come to the United States, and how it would be related to a true Maverick fighter, a small pickup truck, not just a unibody. Unibody's whatever. Unibody just gives you more flexibility on powertrains. Unibody gives you more efficiency. Unibody gives you more configurations with the interior, with the midgate, more interior space. That sort of thing. It's not going to feel like a truck. It'll feel like an SUV or a crossover, I should say. It'll feel like a crossover. And that's okay. The Ford Maverick just is a home run. All right. In packaging, price, efficiency, this thing would be way more expensive. All right. If and when it comes to the US. As a Trekker, who knows at this point? As a Stout, I don't know. But it doesn't look good. Toyota could be back to the drawing boards with a unibody pickup truck for the United States. I'm glad it wouldn't be this EV because this EV truck could still come for other markets, be built in Japan or somewhere else. All right. Could they still build it in the United States? Yes. It's still a possibility. If that's the case, sure, they'll make money on it if it's not a full-on BEV. It needs to have other internal combustion options. But what a lot of people want is a Toyota copy or clone of the Maverick. But at that point, maybe I should just shut down all hope for an affordable unibody truck. It looks like from what I see, Toyota wasn't planning on making an affordable unibody truck and maybe never has been. All right. They want the high profit margin stuff. Okay. And I get it, but that's not what the market wants. And that's why they canceled this truck. Maybe not the one you see, but the North American version of it called the Trekker. I don't know. Like I said, there's more questions and answers than I have with the information that I've been given. Only time will tell, and Toyota is still studying this issue or this potential vehicle. All right. We need, in my opinion, something more affordable, something in the 20,000s. Should we look at what a Ford Maverick is going for right now in my area? There's 1,000 in my area, but sadly, the hybrid, it's only about 20%. Here's some Mavericks, $4,000 price drop. Here's the base, not even a base, the XLT at 28K. All right, let me see lowest price, 26K for the base XL. This is where Toyota needs to be with a truck. If they were planning the wealthy class, which anyone who's buying a new car is fairly wealthy, if you ask me, but there's just different scales of wealth. All right. But in the United States, we need something $30,000 or less for this truck. You know what I'm saying, Kirk, the new RAV4, what are you talking about? The new RAV4's pricing just came out. That's a hybrid, and that is $33,000. What I'm saying is don't get your hopes up for a unibody Toyota affordable truck in the near future, if not ever. Don't do it. If you want a small, affordable, efficient unibody truck, don't waste your time. Just go get a Ford Maverick right now. They're on discount, $3,000 off of MSRP. You can get these things for under $30K, still get around 40 miles per gallon. No, you're not going to have a midgate, but we're not even confirmed that Toyota's unibody truck would have a mid-gate at this point because they scrapped the BEV version of it. Time will tell. That's all I can say. If you're on the fence of whether you should wait, or if you need a truck right now that's a hybrid, for a hybrid city truck, go get the Maverick. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite vehicles. Very affordable, well built, at least in my testing. And the hybrid powertrain is like, it's just like Toyota's. It's eCVT. It's very reliable. Very few failure points on it. This is a great, great, great pickup truck. And don't waste your time waiting for this unicorn of a Toyota to make it to the market. So I'm going to shut it down. I appreciate you guys watching. I wish it was more exciting news, more hopeful news. But the reality is that it doesn't seem like we're close to a unibody pickup truck for Toyota. And it doesn't even seem like they'll be able to come anywhere close to an affordable unibody pickup truck to directly go against something like the Ford Maverick. I'll see you guys in the comments. Stay safe out there. Have a great day, and peace.